This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
No, I'm nervous too, girl.
I know.
We were in this together.
I know.
Okay?
I don't know how you came back from that though.
The words. Oh, that's word, girl. Okay.
I know. I mean, we saw it last time, Joey and I, and I'm like,
Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
to see it in person.
I know. When
It's
you
a
get up
gift.
and you go to work and you're just
Yeah.
good at it. No,
Okay.
It is what it is.
Hey everyone, you're listening to The Public Affair with me, Andrew G. I see someone different every episode, but do me a favor, keep it between us.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Andrew G, and welcome to another exciting episode and informative episode of The Public Affair. I was telling Jessica, my guest, right before we started that I'm just as nervous as she is because this is different territory for me, you guys. I don't ever really get too political on The Public Affair, but however, in the state of the world that we're in right now, I feel like this is a very, very important conversation. We're going to get more into that in just a minute, but before we continue, I definitely want to use this opportunity, of course, to thank Rogue Media Network and my boy Braz is out here recording this episode of The Public Affair. He thinks I'm a diva because I wanted the cameras a certain way. Okay? My last guest was making fun of me, Jess, okay?
Aww.
Yeah, my bad. All right. Now, and of course, to all of you guys, I want to encourage you to like, share, and subscribe. Now, before we continue, I'm definitely going to give this opportunity to give a shout out to just a few of our sponsors of this episode of The Public Affair. This episode is brought to us by David Santabanez with Alinea Real Estate. He's the number one sales agent in his office. He's going to help you buy a home or sell your property. If you guys don't know how to buy a house, you don't know how to sell your house, you don't know where to start, my boy David Santabanez is going to help you through the process, through step by step, because he's truly the GOAT, and that's why he's the number one sales agent at Alinea for all these years, at least as long as he's been sponsoring The Public Affair. We're going on 5 years, girl. Okay, so make sure you guys get with him. Se habla español. My boy David Santabanez, thank you so much for sponsoring this episode of The Public Affair. Of course, to Anika Armstrong with Armstrong's Bayou Cafe, which, can I just give kudos to her right now, feeding children for free during the summertime, because that's what she's doing right now. If you guys can go on her social media at Armstrong's Bayou Cafe and see how you can contribute to that. The meal vouchers, I think, are only $8, and she's giving kids free lunch all summer long. I have to use this opportunity in advertising her to just really kind of just give her kudos and thank her for doing that, because that is so important. And of course, she's serving the best Creole Cajun cuisine out there in Central Texas. You guys follow her on social media. Armstrong's Bayou Cafe. Nico Armstrong, thank you so much for all you do for me on the show and to these children. You're the greatest, honestly. Of course, to Manny Guerrero, Blue Star RV Services, a mobile RV tech who can fix all RVs, travel trailers, fifth wheel, star haulers, and so much more. He deals with the warranty companies. You don't have to deal with all that mess, all right? He's going to deal with it for you. Him and his team are truly fantastic. They're phenomenal. They're great. They're professional, and they're reliable. Make sure you guys save their number if you guys are RVers. Blue Star RV Services, thank you so much for all you do for me on the show. Of course, to Lucas Pizzeria with Jesse and Tanya Sotomayor. They're our new premier brunch spot, all right? The pancake flights are giving 3125 Bellevue Drive. Sorry, I had to give the address first. But the pancake flights, Jessica, make sure you go to my gym and get the pancake flights and get the eggs Benedict. That was my favorite thing to get. And then get a mimosa too, because why not, right? Okay, it's brunch. We're going to need it after this one for sure.
Yes.
Okay? Make sure you guys go check out Lucas Pizzeria, 3125 Bellevue Drive. And of course, to Jeff Davis, the Texas car plug at University Mazda Kia. You can hit him up to get the best deal on a brand new or pre-owned vehicle with no credit, bad credit. It doesn't even matter. He works effortlessly to make sure that you're rolling off the lot with something, grinning from ear to ear and ready to show off to all your friends. Jeff Davis, you are truly the GOAT. Make sure you guys go see him at University Mazda Kia. Thank you so much for all you do for me and the show, bro. I truly appreciate you. All right, guys. So like I said, I'm really, really anxious. Jessica, we should have bought some wine, right?
Yes.
I feel like that would have diluted a lot of stuff though. But no, honestly, you guys, I think immigration is a big topic going. First of all, she was on the show about a year ago with her husband, Joey Gonzales. But now Jessica Gonzales is my guest here on The Public Affair. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of this. No, I'm nervous too, girl.
I know.
We were in this together.
I know. I don't know how you came back from that though.
The words. Oh, that's word, girl. Okay.
I know. I mean, we saw it last time, Joey and I, and I'm like,
Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
to see it in person.
I know. When
It's
you
a
get up
gift.
and you go to work and you're just good at it. No,
Okay.
it is what it is. No, okay, so immigration is a very big topic here.
Yes.
I say in town because I'm only focused on what's going on in town, and then of course nationwide we've got other things going on.
Yes.
Before we do this show, I want to say there is no way within an hour we can cover every topic and basis behind this subject in immigration. Okay. I asked Jessica Gonzales to be a part of this episode because I truly feel like, as somebody who comes from an immigrant family, a woman who is embedded in success and just really nice, I really couldn't think of another person off the top of my head that I wanted to have this conversation with. When it comes to immigration, Jessica, what are you, pro-immigration or anti-immigration?
Like, how do I use these terms?
Yeah.
I am pro developing a system that works for everybody.
Okay. That's fair. I agree with that. And I am I would say that's a fair statement. And when I think about what's going on with immigration today, and I think of the main thing that I think of, Jessica, and please chime in if you will. I don't like the idea of people going to work and then being taken from that and sent back to a country that they tried to get away from to have a better life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, what's scary too to think about, it's also happening to people who they don't know their home country.
Yeah.
Like they've all they've known is the United States, and now like they're being stripped of that.
Exactly.
And they're being sent to somewhere where they don't even know the friends and family that they have there.
I agree. Yeah. So I definitely agree with that 100% too. And I think when I think of that, you know, when you and I talked on the phone, the word privilege came up. But
Yes.
that's a term that comes up often, not just in immigration, but in a lot of different topics. And I guess I don't realize how, and I got emotional thinking about it earlier. I don't realize what it's like to have to wake up every day and fear for your safety. And when you're just getting up and going to work like you and I did this morning, you know what, or like you and
it's
I
a
came
privilege.
here. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I guess we just we don't think of it that way. Jessica, do you think that we take those freedoms for granted?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, as Americans, we, from here in the US, like we are given all of our rights. And now we're at a point in our life where we're, especially with the media, we're seeing it constantly where those same rights aren't being respected, or of course they're not being given to other people.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed. And just for the clarification, she stated her opinion on immigration. I like the way you put it. I like to say that I'm pro-immigration. There's a lot of things that in my personal life that I've kind of been like on the right side, if you will. But when it came to this, I'm like, I catch myself in the middle because I've had beautiful guests on this show who are immigrants that come from immigrant families such as yourself. And they're so successful at what they do. And I hate the thought of them fearing for their safety and their life every single day when they wake up, just for existing, just for being in this town, just trying to make it like the rest of us are doing, right? But let's get into it. How do you relate to the topic of immigration?
Okay. So to start off, I am the daughter of immigrants. I think that's easy to point out where and how close I am to the subject. You know, I'm blessed enough to have been born on the right side of the border. Also, you know, I had my family, like my grandfather, my father, who fought for their families to come over here. You know, my parents met each other here. So without them migrating over here, I wouldn't be here. But if it wasn't for my grandfather, who really, you know, did everything he could, because he did come initially illegally. And then he told us a story where he almost drowned, and he said he would never go through that again. And so thankfully he found a way, you know, while he was over here, he did the whole process, and he was able to get himself a residency, and then later on got his whole family. That's him and his wife and 6 children. So, and of course back then it was different. And to think about that happens nowadays, where one person in the family's trying to get it all done for someone. And for him, it was a matter of like, okay, we're doing this long, like 6, 7 year, 10-year project to get us over here. And it's just a matter of one simple call of like, all right, drop everything and you have to come because this is your appointment at Ciudad Juarez. And, you know, my family got to do that. So I'm that's why, like, when you mention privilege, like, I have the privilege to say, like, I am a U.S. citizen. And I have the privilege of their esfuerzo to bring everyone over here. And you know, that's something that you kind of talked about, where, you know, a lot of families, a lot of people, like our friends and neighbors who are going through the same struggle, where their parents, their grandparents, their aunts, uncles who aren't here legally, that's something that they probably do think about. But like for me, like I truly am privileged to have like all of my tios and tias. They're here correctly, you know, like if you want to use that term. So like I don't have to worry about my tios, my tias, my cousins. Like everyone is here on good terms.
And I love that. And you're looking at it more on the standpoint that that's just not how it started, though. I mean, you mentioned that your grandpa, you know, crosses over here and tells you a story of when he almost drowned. So primarily, and we're going to get more into this later, but I really hate using the terms illegal immigrant and legal immigrant. I don't know why that doesn't set well with me. I understand that that's like the terms, right? But when it comes to that, and then you mention your privilege, there's a lot of people who fight for the opposition of that. You know what I mean? Like, well, almost discounting that part of his story, even though he's here legally now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I'd love to get to, know more about your opinion on that. But before we do, you guys just held a peaceful protest.
Yeah.
And I want to use the term wisely, peaceful protest. And I'm so proud of this city for doing that, because unfortunately around the world, that's not what's going on. Kudos to you guys on keeping order.
Yeah. Yes, no, for sure. Like the protest that was organized on Tuesday, that was by the PSL group. And then I believe the McLennan County Democrats organized the one on Saturday for the No Kings Day. But yes, I attended both. And like you said, I was so proud to see like everything in Waco, just people practicing their First Amendment right.
Because they have the right to, though. And I like, while there's some protests that I watch on, not normally about immigration, just like other things on YouTube, and it's like, there's people antagonizing each other. I was really happy to see that wasn't going on here. Now, you mentioned that you were a bit nervous to be a part of that protest.
Yes.
What was it that made you nervous about it?
I think like even being here, like and not just from having the conversation that makes me nervous. It's just when you decide to say yes to that, like I want to stand up for something. It could be anything. There's like that cautionary where my face is going to get put out somewhere. It's going to be open to comments, to opposing views. Yeah.
Welcome to 5 years of the public affair.
Yes. And so like for me, that was very nerve wracking. Like I remember having a conversation like with my siblings and my mom, and of course my mom's so supportive. Like she went to both protests. Like I'm so proud of her, and I know I get to carry that with me.
Right.
But like my siblings like, are you sure you want to do that? Like, are you like, your face is going to be out there.
Right.
People are going to know your face, your name. And I'm like.
And that sign was live, loud, and in color. I saw that sign. But good for you, though, because but that's what I'm saying. I hate that you felt fear in doing something like that, because nobody should feel, and whether it was a protest for that or a protest on the other side, everybody has the right to protest, which is part of the privilege in living in this country. And there shouldn't be any repercussions for that.
Yes.
Do you feel better after you did it? Do you feel more confident to attend more?
Absolutely, 100%. I left like this week from Tuesday to even Saturday. Like I feel so wonderful that I did that. Yeah. And I'm proud of the fact that I did that for myself. Like that gives me such, like my cup has been filled because of that.
Did you feel obligation? Because you mentioned, I mean, you are a citizen.
Yes.
And so do you feel obligation to have to do something like that because given your family's history?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely, 100%. Not just for them, but like my neighbors, my friends, those who are undocumented. I 100% know. Like I had close calls with people just in preparation for these protests, where people, like I don't know them by name, but they were just crying, like, "Thank you for doing this." And it's like I forget that not everyone has that privilege to be able to stand up for what they believe in.
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
And oh my God, I'm not naming names, right? But no, this is so serious. There were people that I've invited on this show that didn't come out of the fear of being seen on camera and openly admitting that they were, not documented and in fear of being deported from this. And it made me look at things so different, Jessica. It made me, because I was like, that's crazy that like I'm inviting you to my space. Yeah. This is my space. Do you know, not my space, the website, but my space. And you should feel safe here. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna like report you to ICE. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But like, you don't know who can use that context against you.
I hated that, Jessica. I truly hated that. And I didn't hate them. I get where they're coming from. You know what I mean? But I remember going home and like thinking about it, and I was like, that is like sickening. Like, even if I just wanted to have you on the show just for like, because the other shows are not like this, right? Like, just for like that fun context, and you can't even do that. Like that kind of made me sick. What are the thoughts that you have on the rioting that's going on, like say like in California and stuff like that? Because obviously they're taking the protests over there on a different level. And I think that everybody's a little bit more agitated.
Yeah. Well, you have to understand too that you're not there. You don't know what's happening, what's getting put in your face, who's doing what. Unfortunately, like from here in Texas, we can see what's being shown on the media. Right. But like being there in person at a protest, like obviously I'm not gonna like do anything. But if someone starts harming you, what do you have to do at that point? Someone has to defend themselves, and of course that just creates a wave of things. So I don't know what's happening, but of course it's not right.
Yeah.
It is in the sense of that you have people practicing their First Amendment right, and either they're being made to defend themselves. But as far as like the rioting is, I don't want to say rioting. I don't think, because I have even like friends of mine who are telling me like, oh, Jessica, you're at the Waco riots. I'm like, what?
The Waco. Okay.
We do not have that here.
Girl, we was walking up 8th.
Like we went in a block. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
There is no violence whatsoever. And I
Yeah.
can like even speak on like Waco PD has done like their part to reach out to me directly to find out like if we are doing the preparations, like if there's an opposing view. So like I love that our community is in support.
Sure. Does it sound like to you that maybe law enforcement in said other city is failing at what they're supposed to do to keep order?
I wouldn't say failing, because they can only do what they're being told to do, you know, and that's the same thing here. When I've had conversations with our local law enforcement, you know, they've told me our job here is to protect our city. But if they get federal directives, then it's above them, and they have to follow orders.
Okay. That kind of snowballed into my next question, because, you know, the media, whether it be for immigration or anything else, can really kind of just make things spiral to more than what they are. Do you think that the media is playing a part in everybody kind of losing their minds over this topic? You know what I mean?
Yes, because it's right in your face.
Yeah,
I guess that's the best way, because even then, like, okay, for example, the people who are undocumented, I'm sure all those people are right now on high alert, because they're seeing it happen in so many other states, and they worry that that's going to happen here right now.
Right. So. I got you. You know, the importance to immigration to you obviously would date back to your grandfather coming here. And do you think that, well, that's not a fair question because your parents met here, but how has being the child of an immigrant, how do you think that that's fueled your strive for success?
I think
you are today.
I think as a first generation American, this goes without being said, which I know so many people relate to this, but you have this pressure that you have to succeed. You have to do better. You have to make sure that your family's their legacy, their sacrifices are worth something. So I carry that pressure daily. Yeah. But I mean, I'm at the point in my life where I'm like, I'm trying to be happy. Okay. That's it.
That's it. Do you find it hard though to talk to somebody with an opposing view about it? And you know, you mentioned that there's a pressure as a first generation American.
I don't think that it's more of it wouldn't be the only reason why it would be a hard conversation is if personal feelings get involved. Like, obviously, like, I'm going to be pro and like tell you like, this is why it's correct, but I'm not here to change your mind either. Exactly. It's a change of heart and empathy that is lacking right now. Right. I think that's the biggest problem.
I agree with you. And I'm really happy that you said that too, because I feel like that goes for everything. I feel like, you know, I think that we're all allowed to disagree on things, but it's like you just said, it's that lack of empathy and the way that we're reacting. You know what I mean? And there's people like on social media, like at each other's necks. Yeah. And it kind of gives me a headache reading it. It's like, I didn't realize how many like even Latinos here are against immigration. You know what I mean? When surely down the line, same situation as you, their family migrated here in one way or another. You know what I mean? So that kind of makes me go like this. Do you think that these conversations should be left out of business?
Like in what kind of
I'm not going to like say the business, but you know, there was a business that showed themselves recently, you know, while the protest was being covered. Yeah. And a lot of people were going after that business for their opposing views, which did kind of come off racist. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying this person is a racist because I don't know them. You know what I mean? But it was they're a well-known business owner for that matter. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I wonder, do you think that they should be left out of the conversation and say, you know, for the sake of just protecting their business?
Well, so say for example, as a business owner, you have to be, I don't want to say cautious, but you represent your business. So if those are your morals, because that's where it also goes to, like, whatever you say, whatever you support shows and represents you. So it's up to you if you want to step into the light in that and take a side, so to say. But I mean, it's up to each person.
It's just, you guys just be quiet. You know what I mean? Especially because you have to learn how to pick and choose your battles. And again, it doesn't take away from the fact that you are entitled to your opinion, right? Like you can feel the way you feel. However, when it comes to what feeds your family, you know, there's just some things you gotta be, all right, you know, like there's a lot of things about the LGBTQIA plus I just kind of stay out of, Jessica, but we're not here to talk about that. Okay. So,
I mean, it's Pride Month.
yeah, it is, isn't it? So, listen, nobody gave me a check for Pride Month. Okay. What do you think the biggest struggles your family has had to face as immigrants?
I mean, I firsthand have like faced discrimination.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Even as an American citizen?
Yes.
Okay.
It's just by the color of my skin, what I'm wearing. I've had multiple times that's happened. Maybe because of the state that we live in or not, but I know it's for sure on what I look like. It's happened where it's happened to me and my brothers, me and my friends, like at like Dillard's, at restaurants. It's happened all over.
Can you give an example of a time that's happened and you kind of just felt like discouraged about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know one time, you know, quinceañeras, weddings. Okay. My friend and I were shopping at Dillard's to get a dress. And unfortunately, she really loved this dress at this store. Yeah. No offense to Dillard's, you know, completely different now. Okay, but just saying the situation. Yeah. And so we went and we tried so hard to go find somewhere else because we had a lady come up to us and say, you know, something bad to us and in the sense of, are you guys here just playing around? You guys don't have the money to buy anything, and kind of hinted really on who we were as in what we looked like. Yeah. And so my friend really did not want to shop there. And so we really tried hard to go find something else. And she really loved a dress from there. So we went back and thankfully we had a friend working there. Okay. So we asked her to check us out. And the lady came back. She was like, no, I was helping them. And we're like, no, you weren't. Yeah. Like, no, ma'am.
So do you think that the lady was just like a rude bee? Or do like what, I guess, had you guys register that as like
discriminatory?
Yes.
Number one, tone and choice of words. There's just some things I'm not going to repeat that are said, but yes.
Yeah, don't get me beat up, Jessica.
No, no, you're okay.
Yeah, I got you.
You're okay. No, but yes, like it, and it's not just that situation. It's happened where like people have used like derogatory terms to like speak of like me and like my family or something, like just in a public setting. So it does happen, and that's what people forget because again, the issue is you can have opposing views without maybe being a racist.
Yeah.
Is that the question here?
No, absolutely. I agree 100%. You know, and one of the things, like when I think about immigration too, I would say like growing up in New York, there was a lot of talk about like Salvadorians, right? But we didn't really kind of like focus. It wasn't like as hype as it is when I moved to the South. When I say the South, I'm talking about I started in Florida and then moved here. And so I remember living in Hialeah, Florida. And I remember going to school out there, Jessica. This is a personal story, and you know I'm allowed to tell my personal stories. I remember the biggest thing was Cuban immigrants, and I remember some of the Cubans saying, "I don't want anybody knowing that I'm Cuban, because I don't want anybody knowing that my family are refugees here." Yeah. I remember, I'll never forget, my little cousin who's half Cuban said the same thing to us one day. He said, "Don't tell any of my friends that I'm Cuban." Yeah. Have you ever seen anything like that growing up? And what are your thoughts on stuff like that?
Yes. Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, same situation. I've met some Cubans, and it's like you don't say that you're Cuban. You don't say how your family got here. Yeah. And again, it's one of those questions where you don't want to like step on people's toes or get too personal, but no one just waves around and says like, "Hey, I'm from so-and-so, I'm illegal," or, you know, you just don't say that because one, you should be respecting everybody as a basic human being.
But yeah, like who just says that though? You know what I mean? Like, "Oh, hi, I'm Andrew, I'm an illegal immigrant." Like, who just like nobody just says that, right? Yeah. Like,
but it's people fishing for information, and again, that's why people have to be careful because you just never know. You know, I went years without knowing some of my friends were DACA recipients, and when I found that out, it's like, oh, I forget. Then you can't do the same thing I did. When I was in college, I had friends that were, I can't remember what they were, but they couldn't. I invited them to come to Waco because I went to school in San Antonio, and their first fear was, well, are there any checkpoints? Oh, and I'm just like, I didn't even think about that.
Oh, you don't think about that?
No.
Part of privilege. That's such a, what's privilege to you, Jessica? Because I feel like when people hear the word privilege, they automatically get like this defensive nature,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wonder, what does that word mean to you?
To me, privilege means that you don't have to think about something you are already doing because I mean, for the word I use, you're already blessed.
Okay.
That you don't even have to think about it as a blessing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah. And that just goes based off the topics that we were talking about earlier. You know, I mean, we never worried about checkpoints. I'd never thought about that. Do you know what I mean? How do you feel immigrants benefit the country, in your view?
Oh, let's start with the obvious. They pay taxes.
Yeah.
And they don't get any benefits for like the rest of us. People, that's one of the base arguments that they have. It's, oh, they're stealing our jobs. They're doing this. It's like, no, they're doing the job.
Right.
And a lot of immigrants are business owners, and guess what? They still pay their taxes.
Right.
And they contribute to that.
That is 100% true, and I can definitely stand by that statement because I know.
Yeah. Look at all the businesses here in town, and it's not your business to know what their legal status is. You know?
Exactly. I've seen it though too, where anyway, let's not get into that because we're trying to keep it cute, right? So no, okay. Listen, you've given us some really, really good insight, and you know, I agree with you on a lot of what you just said. I do feel like there are immigrants that definitely benefit, especially like the economic standpoint of the country. You know what I mean, in terms of the work that they do and everything like that. I definitely think that there are contributions to it. We can definitely get into the conversation about who's taking advantage of our benefits and who's not, because immigrants are not in my thought process when it comes to that, right? But I just wonder, do you think, before we cut to break, do you think that how do you think your life would be different had you not known your family's history about immigration?
Had I not known where I came from.
Let's say grandpa didn't even tell you about that. You know what I mean? Because when we mentioned like the Cubans that I grew up with, right? They don't even talk about it. Yeah. It's like, no, we're American. You know what I mean? Do you think that you look at things at a different lens?
I think so, because of like me personally, like I grew up, and then here in Texas, at least, I didn't speak Spanish as a kid. It's weird. Both of my parents' primary language was Spanish, and I only spoke English because of books, because of like television. However, I learned, like, my mom tried to put me in bilingual classes, and I didn't test for it. Wow. And it wasn't until I was in middle school that I chose, like, hey, I should probably learn Spanish. And I was going to Mexico for vacation too. And so, you know, thankfully I also had that, where I got to go visit like my family where we came from. But I think that's something like I always I don't want to say take for granted, but I really I was not going to learn Spanish if it wasn't for me wanting to start speaking Spanish. Yeah, exactly. And I took it all in high school and middle school, and that's how I learned to speak Spanish. If not, I don't know if I would have even ever spoke Spanish. Yeah, I would have been another No Sabo kid.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, Jessica, we're going to take a quick break, okay? And we're going to get a little bit deeper after the break, because this part's going to be really hard for me too, but I really think it's important to bring more context to the conversation and kind of get everybody to look at it in a more nuanced perspective. But you guys, I want you to stay tuned. This is difficult for me, all right? Stay with me, Jessica. Thank you for being patient. And when we get back, we're going to have more of the public affairs, so stay with us. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying this exciting episode of The Public Affair. My very special guest, Jessica Gonzales, is here, back on The Public Affair under different circumstances. We're not talking about, you know, boudoir shoots and stuff like that.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, yeah. That was a fun one, though. That was a fun show. It was a very fun episode. Now, before we continue, I definitely want to use this opportunity to give a shout out to just a few more of our sponsors of this episode of The Public Affair. Sorry, guys. This episode is brought to us by Julian Anabanda with Bandas Hauling Service. That's right. They run dump trailers. You fill it up, they haul it away. They also do junk removals, and they do tree brush removals and haul cars in and out of town. So in case the car breaks down after the recording, just call Bandas Hauling Service so they can come pick it up, all right? They also offer roll-off dumpster service as well. Perfect for big get-togethers, private parties, if you're doing your own spring cleaning, summer cleaning, winter cleaning, whatever the case is. Bandas Hauling Service is 100% reliable. Make sure you guys save their number on their phone. Julian and Ana Banda, thank you so much for sponsoring this episode of The Public Affair. Of course, to Chefito's Kitchen with Al Gutierrez and Adriana Gutierrez, serving the best in Latin cuisine. Listen, yo soy boricua. They be making me some arroz con gandules, some pernil. They be making me some Cuban sandwiches. They make me plátano maduro, tripleta sandwiches. They make me lechon sandwiches. They are so good when it comes to like that Latin cuisine. I'm talking about food from like Puerto Rico, Cuba, Colombia, Colombia, Costa Rica. You guys, you have got to go check them out at Union Grove. Make sure you follow their social media at Chefito's Kitchen. Ask for catering services as well. Al, Adriana, thank you guys so much for sponsoring this episode of The Public Affair. Of course, the Ociel Penguin Benitez with Funtown RV, the best in RV sales. You guys, it is summertime and it is giving camping season, all right? Penguin works overtime to make sure you and your family are situated and settled in an RV best suited for you. I'm talking about toy haulers, travel trailers, fifth wheels, and so much more. Habla español. So if you guys need some help, you guys want to get the best deal on an RV, hit up my boy Ociel Penguin Benitez. Follow on social media at Penguin's Cool RV Deal and Tips on Facebook. Ociel, thank you so much for all you do for me in the show, bro. I truly appreciate it. Of course, to Elite Barbershop, my boy Sid Rodriguez, making sure I look like, real good for Jessica on this episode of The Public Affair. They're located on Hewitt Drive, 135 North Hewitt Drive, Suite 121. You can call them on the screen or download the Squire app. Walk-ins are welcome as well. He has Marcus Guerrero, Chris Reyes, Santos Cordova, David Rodriguez, Isaac Chavez, Isai Reyes, Sam Ceballos, and Kayla Chapa over there making you look real spiffy and sparkly for the weekend. Elite Barbershop, thank you guys so much for all you do for me in the show. And of course, to Dominic Gutierrez and Ariana Gutierrez at Soko Soccer Academy. They offer team, small group, and individual skills training. They also have elite skills training to make your kids superb star athletes. Summer is here. Kids are out of school. You need them social. You need them active. Soko Soccer Academy is the business to enroll them in. They are truly phenomenal with kids. One of the best daycare services in Central Texas. Hands down, hands down. I will stand by that all day. And I want to give a huge shout out to the Soko Soccer teams with my bro, Coach Morrow, Coach Megan, Coach Jeff. You guys are truly fantastic and phenomenal at what you do with these kids, elevating them and giving them hope for something and be good at something. You know what I mean? Win awards and everything. The Public Affair is going to stand by Soko Soccer Academy through and through. Thank you guys so much for all you do for me in the show. All right, guys. I'm super excited to be back with my very special guest, Jessica Gonzales is back on the Public Affair. Thank you again for being here for this important topic about immigration, and I think we're doing good. How you feel?
I feel good.
Do you feel comfortable?
Yes.
Do you feel exploited?
A little bit.
Not in a bad way.
No.
Okay, I want you, because if nothing else, I want you to feel comfortable. Okay,
Yes.
and it was just as hard for me to put this together.
Mhm.
I want to try and look at things in a different lens for this next half of the episode, and I was doing a lot of research on because obviously, like as I stated in the beginning of the episode, I am pro-immigration. You know what I mean? I was looking at some research on the people that are anti-immigration, and they brought up some statements and they brought up some questions that I hope that you and I can kind of try and dissect.
Okay.
These are not my views or opinions, but I thought when I wrote them down, I was like, I would really like to talk about this because, again, we have to look at everything in different perspectives, right? Yeah. So let's get started. This is the other side. Are there anti-immigration activists that corrode the message from not being either educated or just by being reckless? And when I say the message, I'm saying like they go out there and they rally for, immigrants to come to the country, but they're maybe doing it in a way that's a little bit more aggressive. What are your thoughts on that?
I think there are, but it's because of again, in the media, what we've seen, it's like burning the U.S. flag is not okay anywhere on U.S. soil.
Right.
And then same thing, like the destruction of cars and local businesses. Like that's giving a bad name to those who are protesting.
Got you. Just saying something like that and openly admitting it to it, because I felt the same way too. Like there were people who were doing things like that, and I'm like, well, remember, you guys were fighting for you guys to stay here, and then some were arguing on social media that how can you be fighting to want to stay in this country, right? But then you're like cheering on the country that you're trying to get away from. So I wonder if those people are like corroding the message for the people that want the immigrants to come. Does that make sense? Or?
Yes. Yeah. And something on your statement that you said, I don't think it's that people are like, especially when you wave like the Mexican flag. Let's say that, for example, you're not saying like this country is better than yours, or in that sense, you're saying this is my roots, this is my culture, this is who I am, this is also why I'm here.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you have to remember like, there's lots of aspects you can think about. Number one, Texas was Mexico at one point. Please remember that, especially for like the generations that have been here and have brown skin. Right. You can't confuse that and be discriminative against them and all of the Native Americans that were already here.
I agree.
And I guess like with the this is where it gets hard. Yeah. It gets hard because
it becomes very nuanced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think that I don't know. I'm losing my train of
I
thought on
agree.
this.
Let me kind of like back. I agree. Like as far as waving like the Mexican flag, and let's just be clear too. Immigration is not just so on Mexican. That's just what we're focused on, right? Because we're in Texas, right? And so that's the conversation that this surrounds on. The immigration issue revolves around many different races, and so I don't necessarily personally, I don't have an issue with anybody waving their Mexican flag. Like I'll wave my Puerto Rican flag all day. You know what I mean? I'm not waving a rainbow flag, but you know, y'all know what's.
But it's also like the freedom of speech and
absolutely.
and everything. You know, it's like our First Amendment right. We can do what we want and be protected in that same way where we can practice any religion.
Sure.
And it's protected.
I saw a social media post. Now that we're on the topic, I did see a social media post that went viral. I want to say it was out of California, where there was a gentleman, you know, fighting for the immigrants, standing on the burn down. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I've seen that post.
Yeah, and the woman, she put it really well in perspective. Like you're not representing me.
Everybody.
You think you're helping us, but you're not. What you're doing is you're fueling.
Yes.
Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. We want to let everybody in. I want immigration I want everybody to be able to come in this country and have a fair shot at making a good name for themselves and giving a better life for their family, like your grandpa did. You know what I mean? I know people whose parents did the same thing, and now the kids are living a privileged life. And I know I hate that word, right? But that's the word that we're using. Do you think? Backtrack. We're gonna backpedal our bikes. When I asked you in the beginning of the episode, are you pro-immigration or anti-immigration? And your answer was?
That I'm for everyone to come here in a way. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. How do we make this process easy? And can we let everybody in here?
Yeah. It definitely is that's the issue at hand.
Yeah.
Like you have people who are DACA recipients. You have people who are in the process of becoming legal with just getting their green card, but it's taking 20, 15, so many years. We've had people pass away on this land that doesn't want them there, but this is their home. I think that to me is what makes this very personal. Like I personally know DACA recipients who have passed away and are buried here in Texas, and it's like you're saying that they were from Mexico and they belong over there, but this was all they ever knew because they were brought in as children.
So I guess in that, because I'm not too knowledgeable on what's going on there, you say they're passing away on American soil. Yeah. Are they not allowed to be buried here? Or
no, they can.
Oh,
they
okay,
can
okay.
be. They can be.
Okay,
That's what I'm saying. It's like they're being buried here in Texas when this was their home, but they weren't given the same rights, and the process wasn't made easy for them to become U.S. citizens.
I'll tell you, I want to keep everybody's identity as concealed as possible for the sake of this interview, because I understand that it's very sensitive, but I know somebody, I watched them make somebody a legal citizen, like the right way, so to speak. And I remember that process being so arduous. I remember that process being so expensive, right? I remember that process being so... The pictures can't look like this. They have to look like this. And we can't be smiling in the pictures, right? Okay, well, they're sending it back because now they say... The process seems like it is way too complicated for anybody to have to go by. What are some thoughts, Jessica, that you feel we can make this process a little bit easier? So that way everybody can kind of find common ground in it.
Well, number one, funding. Someone has to do those jobs, and our government has to be able to fund that.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest things we have to think about is like everything's so backed up because of not having the personnel to be able to work those cases.
Sure.
So that's the number one change that we have to do, aside from like the actual process and the steps that are being taken. Now, unfortunately, I don't know all of the steps. I just know bits and pieces.
Girl, let me tell you something. I know we wanted to be serious, right? But I saw the steps and I was like, so you don't want to just go get her? I'm not gonna lie. I was like, you don't want to just go pull up real quick? Because I crossed the Mexican border once and they were like, okay, just go. You're annoying. You know what I mean?
I mean,
it was like that.
Yes.
It was like that. And I was like, this is crazy. And the amount of times that like whoever oversees that process sent the paperwork back to the person that I know and was like, no, this is wrong. You got to do it again. And get in contact with them, even though they're in a whole different country.
Yeah. And it cost them like thousands of dollars again with that lawyer to represent them.
Jessica, you guys, I'm not kidding you. I've seen this firsthand. hand. And I swear to God, I was like, we can just go pull up and go get them. Like, if you want, I'll take the day off of
Get
work.
the coyotes.
Yeah, okay. Like, I am the coyote. Like, we can just go pull. They ain't gonna say nothing to me. They think I'm annoying, and they want, you know what I mean? Like, it was crazy. So while I agree there should be a process, right? I think that the process that we have put in place now is just completely, just like crazy.
Yeah,
it's a mess. We talked earlier in the episode, because this is another topic that I saw on social media. We talked earlier in the episode of the people getting up, going to work, and they're being pulled from their jobs just to be deported. Do you think that there is a more ethical way in being deported, for that matter?
Well, there is. And that's with the court order, a signed court order by a judge. And that is for, for example, like if you have like, you've done something wrong, right? You have a record now, and they can use that against you. And it has to be a court order signed by a judge, but that's not what's happening. Unfortunately, they've gotten like U.S. citizens as well deported just because they look like they're not. So, yeah,
I definitely, I think. So if you're gonna do that, right? And I know a lot of people are gonna be like, Andrew, go to hell. If it's somebody that's just working. They haven't caused no trouble in this country. They're literally just going to work in that hot ass sun, coming home, feeding their family. I don't think that they should be bothered, to be honest. And this is this is going to kind of lead into my next question, right? Because I saw this and it made me. I saw a lot of things on social media when I invited you on the show, and I was like, huh. You know what I mean? Now, if you are doing, a background or checkpoint, whatever you want to call it, that person ends up being a criminal.
Yeah.
And when I say criminal, because I remember watching this debate and they said, well, just coming in here as an illegal citizen is a crime already.
Yeah.
Which that can be very nuanced, right? When I say criminal, I'm talking about murder. I'm talking about sex trafficker. I'm talking about, child molester. I think they should be 100%.
Well, it's the same way as any U.S. citizen that's doing that should be, lock the key, throw them away.
Put us in jail, right? Not us trying to do that. But I understand the American citizens go to jail, and then as far as like you being an immigrant here, part of your punishment is you're out of here. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then
and that makes sense though. Unfortunately, I don't want to say unfortunately, but yes, it's true. If you cause like crimes and if you are doing like committing crimes and stuff, like unfortunately, if that is part of your sentence.
When I saw that conversation taking place, I guess I didn't realize. That's why I hate the word illegal versus legal immigrant, because I didn't realize stepping into the country just to wanting to make a better life for your family was a crime. I didn't. Do you know what I mean? I guess I just didn't. That doesn't set with me. Like, why is that a crime? Why is that looked as a criminal act? That's crazy. But I guess, whatever. That's a different conversation. We talk about legal versus illegal, and I told you how much I hate those terms. We talked about how I watched somebody make somebody become a legal citizen, versus an illegal immigrant. We talked about the money that it brings into the country. We talked about how much money it costs just to make that person legal. What difference does it make, Jessica, if they're legal or illegal? Do you think it's all money driven?
Of course. Do you see what our country is?
Yeah. What do you feel about that?
How do I feel? Or how or what?
How? Or both.
How or both? Unfortunately, like that's what, like realistically, I see how like we're a capitalistic country, right? I don't know if I even said that right.
Yeah, no.
But it's money driven.
Right.
Like, we have the big companies that are driving everything, the elite that are calling the shots, and that's honestly what it comes down to. It's how much money, and that's what you have to understand too. If you do the mass deportations and you take out all of this, you are losing so much money that's coming into the country. So why not have these people here, make the process easier, put them into the country, Well,
and then that becomes my question to the country, because again, while I want everything to be nuanced and I want everybody to, definitely have their opinions, I want to respect everybody's opinions. Is the country mad that you didn't pocket that tens of thousands of dollars that it was going to cost to make them legal, and that's what you're really upset about?
So you don't even know that too, because some lawyers might just not even ever file for you. Which there are cases where lawyers just pocket that money and never actually put a case in for people.
Yeah, that's true too. That makes me cross my legs. When I saw it firsthand, Jessica, I have to say I wasn't very fond of it.
Yeah.
I wasn't very fond of the process, and it did make me question. It's like, so what's the difference between like what you're doing now versus if we just go get the person? I know I said that jokingly, but low-key was serious because it was like, so what is it just because somebody's missing out on thousands of dollars? So this person is negated the opportunity to make a better life with you for that matter. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, I think I've met more immigrants that do positive things than I have that are actual criminals.
Yeah.
That abuse the system. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's people in my personal family that abuse the system and they're Americans. So we don't have to we get into that tea too, but that's different. Let me ask you this. This was super interesting to me. Can you be anti-immigration and not be racist?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. So to be racist means you're targeting and you hate a certain race, right? To be against immigration, it means you want to close our borders and keep the U.S. So it's like you're going against what the U.S. was founded on.
Right.
So I don't think you can.
You don't think you can be anti-immigration and not racist and racist?
I don't think you can because, okay, that's the defense. If you are saying like, oh, I'm anti-immigration, but I'm not a racist, so you're against what the country stands for and even like your own, like whatever your heritage is.
Yeah.
It's like race does come into play for that.
Yeah.
And, we've had people who blatantly say like, oh, I dislike this certain race. I dislike, or I absolutely hate this. And it's like, why?
Right.
What did they do to you? Why? Maybe one person did something to you, but that doesn't describe the whole like people.
I'm on the fence. And I hate to kind of like...
No, absolutely.
I'm on the fence for that, right? Because like I know people in my life that I know are anti-immigration. And when you want to really take it there, I know people in my life that are anti-LGBT. And I have them in my life. I'm respected. I'm Latino and LGBT. I'm not Mexican, right? But I'm Latino. And so I meet these people that are against the crossing of the border illegally. Again, a term that I hate. But which is what it's called. But they don't hate Mexicans.
Yeah.
And then when I see the other side of the conversation, I see, well, how, like you just said, how can you be, pro-immigration or anti-immigration and not be racist? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, if you are, let's say someone truly believes I'm not a racist,
right.
And they say like, I'm just against immigration or maybe I believe our border should be closed. Okay, let's have the conversation on why. What is the root of why you believe that?
Right.
Let's really find out why you don't want to have other people come into the country that is of opportunity.
Yeah.
So.
But then I guess what we're saying is that kind of boils down to eventually race gets put into play. Huh.
You have to have that conversation with that person.
We should have had somebody else. No, we should have. Like it's good. Yeah. No, because these are just things that I'm researching on social media because I wanted to have these conversations, and I don't want to believe that the people that I know that are against the immigration thing going on right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to believe that they're racist. I don't believe that they're racist.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I guess when you are having that nuanced conversation,
and I mean, like for me, it's about also experience. Like, let me share this experience I had at one of the protests here in Waco.
Okay.
I was, on the line. It was the one for the No Kings protest on Saturday.
Okay.
And of course, lots of different cars. Throwing the finger out there at us, and that's okay. Do what you want. But to me, what
I
really
just love you. I'm sorry.
what took me back was there were two cars that took me back. There was one where the parents were thumbs downing like us and saying, "Go Trump." Okay. Like, okay, great.
Sure.
The kids in the back, however, were flicking us off. And I'm like, that right there is the problem. You're teaching hate.
I agree.
Instead of let's have a difference, let's say our differences. But that right there is hate. And that's not what's okay right now. That's what we're all against right now.
Do you think kids should be left out of this conversation, period?
No, they should be educated in their country. And of course, like their parents are solely responsible for that and they're educators because, again, you can talk so much politics in school, and then it's up to each person to teach their own.
I think when it comes to things like this, it does become nuanced for me as well. I don't know, like you just mentioned, if the kids were more worried about being kids, i.e. playing Barbies or toys and, you know, playing outside and playing tag, or maybe they were going somewhere like their cousin's house or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what you should be focused on. And it kind of disheartens me to know that a child was flicking you off because of your beliefs.
Yeah.
How much is a child supposed to understand?
And then how much power do they get if they're still fueled by that mindset as they get older and they have more power?
How old were you when you started learning about your family's heritage, like in terms of your grandpa being an immigrant?
I think I may have always known, especially because I got to go to Mexico as a kid.
Okay.
Like my parents were the kind that we went for, like, as soon as I was out of school, we used to go like the whole summer.
Got you.
So
you just I don't know. It just to know that again, because then it goes like I only focus on the other topic that I told you about earlier, like, and there's just certain things that I feel like kids should be left out of. You know what I mean? And in terms of like education should be left up to the school system, which I know is another nuanced conversation because school is not the same as when we were in school. But you know, I hate to know that those kids are being taught hate, and I do think that that's the root of the issue.
Yeah, and not just that too, but I mean they have so much access to technology now.
Absolutely.
Like I have little cousins that are so young and they know how to work iPhones, iPads, everything. I'm like, dude, I need to still look up the helpful tips and stuff on how to do things.
And it kind of just amplifies the conversation around like maybe racism is just never going to go away
because it's taught.
It's taught. Exactly.
That's the problem.
Taught. It's absolutely taught. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I say that's the problem. That's many of the problems.
You know, one of the other things that I saw too, and again, everybody's entitled to their opinions. Everybody's entitled to whatever they want to say. One of the things that kind of struck me as one of those things that was like, I seen like some Hispanics be against immigration. You know, some Mexicans and stuff like that. Many argue that they did it the right way. You know what I mean? Then we have a story like your grandfather, which kudos to him, crosses illegally and then does it the right way. I wonder, what do you make of those people that might be, I'm not saying because I don't know everybody's history, right? That might be discrediting how their family came here, which may have been similar to the way your grandpa came.
Oh, yeah. I see the comments. There's people with the last names, you know, very Latino last names, and they're the big ones who are saying ill things. And it's like, okay, that's your choice. You're choosing to have that side, to have that belief.
Right.
But what you're saying is what's important. It's like you're saying racist, ill things. And it's like you're choosing to say that. No one's telling you to say that. You can support your side as much as you want, but not in that way.
Yeah. I think I only had a problem with it when a Hispanic person straight up tries to tell you that they're not Hispanic. But meanwhile, last name is Gomez. Like
that sounds like a personal problem.
Okay. That's when identity politics is going to. I'm like, okay,
yes.
but that see, and so, but you make a good point there. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's not to say that every Mexican. Well, I guess.
I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah. You know, Latinos are racist amongst their own people too.
Hold on, because we don't talk about that enough, though. We really don't, and that is absolutely true because that's existed in my family as well. Do you know what I mean? Like I've seen it firsthand, and my cousins have told me stories too. It's Latinos don't talk about that openly as well. I guess
mental health. What else are they?
That's a different. That's part 3 when Jessica comes back with Joey and another person. Okay?
Oh goodness.
But you know, what we're running out of time, and I hate this. And I first of all, I just want to say you've given us some really, really good insight, and I'm really grateful that we were able to have this open conversation. I hope a lot of people will take something from it. What is the most annoying misconception that you hear about immigrants? Like, what is something that you read or you hear and you're just like, oh my God, like
that they're criminals. Okay. It's like not everyone is a criminal. Like you have to, not just that too, but like a lot of the things, it's like, I think the biggest thing, like me personally, I'll say this, like I'm a Catholic, right? I grew up like very, very religious, very, all of that, my family. But it's like, if you love Jesus, you know the one thing, like the only commandment he left us, and is to love your neighbor. And to do that, and the people who are like saying and being hateful, it's like, okay, you're being a hypocrite.
Sure.
Like, come on. Same thing with what's happening with our country. Like, I'll take it that step forward. You know, you want to put the Bible back into the schools, but you're not honoring what Jesus said.
Yeah, I agree with you. One of the things that I saw that it kind of made me like chuckle was when I was doing the research for these second half of questions, there was a gentleman on a debate that I was watching that was saying that his family lives in New York City, and across the street from where his family lives is a 5-star hotel full of immigrants. So as in they built this hotel, and that's where the immigrants can be housed while they go to work or whatever. And he felt like they were abusing taxpayer dollars and all these other things. My argument being, in my immediate family, there have been children coached to say that they're disabled so they can live off of taxpayer dollars, benefits, and they're American.
Yeah, but again,
so
that
I don't
goes
feel
to...
like that was a very strong argument for me.
Yeah.
I need a different, you know what I mean?
But I mean, that's the same thing. It's like,
and I'm using my family as an example because I don't.
You can only speak personally.
I can only speak personally, exactly.
I mean, that goes like, how do I say this? That's the main thing. It's like there are good people and there are bad people. It doesn't matter what your race is. It doesn't matter like what your legal status is. There are good people and there are bad people, and at the end of the day, we should choose to be good people.
Sure. I agree. There's so much that we could talk about, Jessica, and unfortunately we're running out of time. And I really want to thank you for your tenacity. I want to thank you for being so open with us, especially in regards to talking about your family and how immigration and being the descendant of an immigrant has impacted your life. I have a couple questions left. Do you think that this problem is ever going to get resolved? With
the right leader, maybe.
Okay.
Keep it short and sweet.
Okay. Okay. And what are your final thoughts on on what's going on right now? And what can you leave us with?
I think the number one thing is I want people to know that if you want to say something, if you want to protest, you can do it. It is your First Amendment right. There should be no fear behind you choosing to stand up against something you believe. And I think that's the biggest thing, that there is power to the people, especially when you see the community get together. There's so much power in that. Absolutely. And of course, the number one thing, if you don't like what you are seeing, go vote. That's the number one way to change this. Go vote.
Jessica, you're a doll. And I want to thank you again for coming on. This was hard for me.
I know. Thank you. I was so nervous.
I was
thank
too.
you.
Girl, don't play with me. Okay. but I do want to end with this. And I want to make sure everybody's very clear. I want to give a huge shout out to the individuals that have been a part of the public affair that are either immigrants or that have shared their story of coming from...
That's making me emotional.
No, I do, because I was emotional thinking about it, Jessica. When I think of people like you and the other people that have been on the show, I don't realize how much more you guys have to fight just to be successful, just to make a name for yourself and prove like, look, I'm not like what you guys think. And there are people that have come on this camera and have shared fantastic stories. I can't be anti-immigration after hearing those stories.
Yeah.
I can't be anti-immigration after meeting people like you and the other people that have been on this podcast and have shared their stories and that are either going out and achieving like these fantastic endeavors or running successful businesses or raising their family, for that matter, and the climate that we live in right now, because it's tough. And so I can't be anti-immigration. I understand like a lot of what we just talked about. There are nuances behind everything, and a lot more than what an hour can cover, right?
Yeah, and Andrew, I really want to thank you for even being brave enough to have this conversation. Truly, like, I know when you first contacted me, I was like so nervous. I'm like, you know what? It is brave to take, because even me standing here, like being in front of people, it's scary, but it's like someone has to have this conversation and bring light to a scary and bad situation that is happening in our country.
I agree.
So thank you, Andrew.
Thank you for coming. I do appreciate it. Thank you for being so open to do it. And to all of you guys, me and Jessica don't need the DMs, please. We don't need the hate mail. We had an open conversation. I would like to have a conversation openly with a person opposite of you.
Absolutely.
And
I do think you can have those conversations. 100%.
I agree that we can have but that may be coming down the line, guys. So stay tuned for that. But no, Jessica, I can't think of another person off the top of my head right now that I would have loved to have this conversation with. And I'm grateful that you came back on the show, trusted me enough to do this. And to all of you guys that have watched the show, supported, and especially to all my friends that are immigrants that come from immigrant families, I'm fighting this fight with you, and I'm with you. I'm standing in your corner. And I'm here for you guys. And Jessica, you're the girl. and you know, big shout out to Joey. Tell
Yeah,
Joey
shout
I
out
said
to my
hello.
husband.
Yes. Now you guys can both say you've been on the show twice. Okay.
That's what he said. He was like, you get to say now you've been on there twice.
Yeah, you see, now you guys can have something to tell the kids.
Oh my
You
gosh.
guys, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of The Public Affair. I've got more on the way. Now, before we go, I definitely want to use this opportunity to give a shout out to just a few more of our sponsors of this episode of The Public Affair. This episode is brought to us, of course, by my boy Jeffrey Monreal with Boyo Box and Audio, home for all your LED needs and audio accessories, installation of stereos, door speakers, and audio systems. He also specializes in building custom subwoofer enclosures and so much more. Definitely a jack of all trades. If you guys hear me in South Terrence bum the Cheetah Girls, that's because he put that bass in my car. He put that bass in my car. I don't know how to act right now. Yeah, I don't know why they're trying to act like Cheetah Girls don't go hard.
I love the Cheetah
Okay,
Girls.
me too.
So
I'm not gonna lie.
When I saw your post, I started playing it
That's
on
the
Spotify.
gayest thing about me, to be honest. Like, that's probably the gayest thing because Cinderella does go hard. Okay,
Mhm.
He's your one-stop shop to get everything done in one roof. Boyo Box and Audio. Thank you so much, of course, to Hummingbird Party Backdrops and Decor. My girl Ana Limones. Call for all party decor, including beautiful balloon props, giving an extra flair to your party or event with a number of wooden backdrops as well. She is the go at what she does, you guys. If you guys need a party planner, she is the person to go and call, and she's gonna make sure that she works effortlessly to make sure that your party stands out amongst the rest de Habla Español. Ana Limones, thank you so much for all you do for me in The Public Affair, girl. And of course, to my boy Julio Arriaga with JC Painting and Drywall LLC, who, big shout out to him. He just helped me out with a commitment that I committed to. And no, truly, that guy right there, no questions asked. I appreciate you so much, bro. Contact for all your drywall and beautiful new paint for property, both commercial and residential. His work is honest and true and can guarantee 100% satisfaction. They live by their slogan. Just imagine, we can make it happen. Call today and get scheduled. Se habla español también. To my boy Julio Arriaga, muchas gracias por todo, mi amigo. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To all of you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. My girl Jessica Gonzales, thank you again for coming back to the show. If this wine was real, we're going to need some more of this.
For real.
But don't forget to always keep it between us.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.